Yeah, let's do it again. There is at least one more episode. This one, welcome. It's Mason and Remy, the No Frequency Podcast. How you doing, Remy?
I'm good. This is episode 10. So
Hey, I don't know if it made the final cut, but in the last episode, I said we made it to 10, and I was wrong.
It did not. I helped you, but now we just went back and it doesn't matter. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm great, and we made it to 10 episodes.
Let's go.
Check it out. And we've told a lot of our story. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. I don't know if you see this beautiful purple Band-Aid thing that I'm wearing, but I went to the doctor this morning. So I've got like that on my mind now because that's what happens when you're an old man like me now, who, by the way, 45. And my doctor tells me that this is the age now to, you know.
Yep.
You had a colonoscopy.
I did. I did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little nervous about the prostate exam. I got to be honest, but colonoscopy was the best nap I ever took.
Oh, okay. I was just not sure where that sentence was going to end. No. So yeah, the doctor's talking about it. You know, I knew that you. So we're gonna start the Mason and Remy Q&A episode with my questions for Remy, who went through a colonoscopy already. I do have a bit of like my grandpa passed away from colon cancer, but he was that 80-year-old former GM worker who didn't tell you about his problems until he was going into the hospital for a thing. And well, that was when we last saw Grandpa. But regardless, now it's my turn to undergo this screening in its various forms. So I've got all this stuff on my mind about the doctor, and it's funny. I'm a big Outkast fan, and I've talked about Andre 3000's return to music, and he's playing the flute now. And when they asked him, "Why don't you want? You're like one of the greatest rappers of all time." He's like, "What am I going to talk about? My colonoscopy? I'm doing that. I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing now. This is. I feel like, it's very common. I know it's very common. A lot of people go through it. It's very good to get screened. Health important. Bottom line." Still scary when my doctor goes, there's still a percentage of people who go with a perforated colon. I'm just gonna drop it out there like that. So anyway, we'll be shipping some stuff back for the doc. In the meantime, I opted for the non-perforation possibility, but now I feel like as we talk about what are we doing going forward, you might get a little bit of this, some of the everyday stuff. I think last week we talked about Remy took a trip, for work and stuff. And I got some work trips coming up this week. I'm at the doctor. Did you have anything going on this week that you wanted to update folks about, Remy? Are you good? How's your health? How's your travel? How's the family?
It's good. It's good. I do have something that I can vent about, and that is the chocolate fundraiser is beginning today at school. I don't know if you remember this, but the bars of chocolate that need to be sold, and they just hand the kids a box of chocolate, and they have to sell that first one. You don't have to. I don't think you have to sell multiple boxes, but they incentivize it to make sure that the kids want to pester their parents forever and ever about whatever. They bring like a gaming truck to school, like a bus where they can get on and they can play video games. There's another one where if they sell 5 boxes, they can go to Urban Air for a little field trip day. So they're wanting that, and it's such a pain in the ass for parents because now we have to try and figure out how to sell them, and we have 2 children doing the exact same thing. So instead of 5 boxes for whoever, which I think it is reasonable to get a field trip, right? You got to do 10 so they can both go, right? You can purchase them outright. I think it's like $50 a box or something like that, but do the math. That adds up real quick. And we end up with a lot of wasted chocolate bars. So today is the start of the chocolate bar fundraiser, unfortunately. And, so that's my vent, I guess.
I appreciate it. That's the vent sesh. Yeah. I like that. We can start the show with vent sessions if we want. Now we literally have no order to what we're doing here, other than we wanted to. When we got back together, like to tell our story, and now we're past that point. We're starting to move forward, going, what's what's out here? What are we doing? But that's great. I like a little vent sesh. I'm good with that. I had so many questions going through that because I know there's like a couple strategies, right? You take it to work, you sell, hey, everybody, chocolate.
Yeah.
You work from home, that doesn't work, right?
Exactly. And I told the kids that. I was like, Daddy doesn't have a job where he goes to a place anymore.
So I feel like as a parent, you're right. Like you have like the two choices of I'll just buy the box. We're good. Or you're now taking your children on an adventure and teaching them how to do door-to-door salesman. Like, or you're at the grocery store, right? I know some parents would do that kind of thing. But I would not want to be involved in that. I'm sorry to all the parents who love to do that or organize around that, but I'm not that kind of a parent.
Yeah. It's like Girl Scout cookie season, it's like, I don't know. I think the average family probably knows 3 to 5 Girl Scouts.
Yeah. Or somebody
selling the same exact thing. So do that here in our small town of Columbia, Illinois. And, we've got one street that our subdivision is on, and they'll hit that up, and they'll probably do that today so that no other kids come to our neighborhood. So they lock it down. But every human being in this town will get hit up for chocolate bars. I would almost rather just give a donation to the school and not have to deal with all of that. But I understand the entrepreneurial skills that may arise out of your child if that's something they desire. But
yes.
We'll see.
Learning opportunities. Yeah. And so the chocolate market in Columbia is oversaturated at the moment. So the price is down, I don't think there's and nobody's giving discounts, right? Because it's all being propped up by Big Chocolate back at the school board. And by the way, you said it was for a field trip. Is that like how they do it? They sell enough boxes, they'll bring the video game truck. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So what they'll do is they're fundraising for something. So one year it was a canopy over the playground.
Okay, it's usually to help out the school, so you feel good about it while you're eating your feelings. Yeah.
I still don't see a canopy over the playground though, so I don't know where that money went a couple years ago. But whatever, I'm not here to question.
We'll send the Mason and Remy investigative journalism team down there to see what we can find.
You paid for it,
and that's in the meantime. At least, there's if you need some chocolate, holler at your boy over here. Are you drop shipping chocolate out of Columbia now? Is that what's going down?
I should, because that's the other tactic is to get on Facebook and just have your kids do a cute video. And again, like I don't think that those are as effective anymore. So I think the only way to properly do this is to have a person that works at a job at maybe like an Amazon warehouse where there's just hundreds of people. You buy or you invest and 5 to 10 boxes and just put them out on the break counter or whatever, and it's $1 a piece, and you get people that buy whole boxes or people that like a certain flavor, and boom, you're done in a day. But I don't have that option. So
that's interesting. So it sounds like both you and I are in the same I'll buy that box. Like that's right. Is that kind of what we're doing? I'm doing I did my part. So that's good. This is parenting. This is like, I think really taking your kid and forcing them to go door to door in this scary world right now, not on my list of things to do. But to each their own. I think that there is a fine life to be earned in the door to door salesman. I don't know if there is anymore, to be honest.
In fact, to piggyback off of this, whenever there are door to door salespeople in town, roofers or people or whatever, it shows up instantly on the Columbians Facebook page. Hey, we got door to door people. Ask them if they have a permit. If they don't have a permit, tell them that they're not allowed to do it. All this stuff. So funny. And I used to kind of succumb to the pitch, right? You go out the door and the dogs are barking and everything's going chaos behind me, and I'll go, no, this is fine, I'm good, I don't need whatever you're selling. Just one second, I wanted to show you something out here. Okay, you come out, and then half an hour later you're like, gosh dang it, I fell for it. Never pay, like there's never like a sale that happens, but they do take and rob me of 20 to 30 minutes of my time. But I just I'm like, so I apologize, we're good, and I just start to shut the door.
And you have to do that sometimes. Definitely, I understand. Our doorbell doesn't work. That's kind of you. That's how we handle it at this point.
That's great.
There was a point where you would touch our doorbell and it would go like there's something definitely wrong in the electricity. Don't ring my doorbell. My house might burn down. But we haven't experienced that, thankfully. But I used to keep that no solicitors sign on the door. Like I used to be that big no solicitors sign. Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Kid walked through my yard a couple weeks ago, and I yelled, "Are you lost?" Out the back door. That's me. I'm sorry. It is who I am. Like I know that people are like, it's just walking through. I'm on the back of a cul-de-sac, so like you can walk through my yard to the next street over. Maybe before the house was built, that was cool. No bueno. No
Yeah.
bueno.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn. Say it officially, and the gray in my beard just grew a little thicker.
Property. Get off the property.
Get off my lawn. There's no trespassing. Will be shot. Can I still put up a trespassers will be shot sign? It seems extreme. It seems like extreme for the kid that's like, I'm sorry, I was listening to my AirPods.
Yeah. You could just put up beware of dog or something like that.
Me, I'll put a second G on the back end and sit out on the back and smoke a blunt. Like, what's up?
DAWG.
Beware. Oh, hey, oh, yo. I just planted that grass. What you doing? I first off love that idea as a sketch by itself. But
one of those high-powered Nerf guns they have now.
Ooh, man, I'd scare the hell out of a kid. I just start hearing that automatic like I love. But enough of old man Mason and Papa Remy talk. Couple of things that we can chat about here, as in our last episode. So great to catch up with the interns. So great to see people still following our adventure, even though we've kind of gone through all of our eras. We've always kept a lot of our stuff that we've done. Like I think the home from the beginning of our content was the Mason and Remy YouTube channel, right? Like we always wanted that there. But the problem was we were hired by radio stations who wanted their radio stations to be the star of the show, right? Like, of course, they've got music, budgets, they're paying us. Sure, come to the radio station to listen to us. So then they would ask us to post our content on their pages. This is a conflict for me. This also falls into line with the people who are asking, when is our podcast going to be on Spotify? Well, we can only like have any real control over this kind of thing. So if Spotify is going to put a commercial in the middle of our podcast, guess who's not going to get paid for it?
Mm-hmm.
These guys. And that's fine. Not like we have huge listenership. I'm just talking the way that Garth owned his stuff, and everybody was like, yeah, nice job, Garth. I think we're kind of doing the right thing here now, as we just got accepted into the YouTube partner program just last week. So thank you to everybody who has watched the journey, who has come along on the Eras tour. We appreciate your bracelets and the signs. I might be thinking of the wrong Eras tour. Either way, I do appreciate. I do want to say that because a lot of people have come through. I've gotten a lot of comments in my direct messages. I know you've probably had a lot of conversations with people who don't want to necessarily say, yeah, I went through that, or I've talked about that, talk about my experience. We've had a lot of people reach out to us. So taking a second to say thank you for getting us to this kind of moment that we have really, you and I have worked towards for 14 years as a team, and was something I believe at one point we had the access to. But the problem with some of that is, for 3 years, we're doing a morning show on one station, and then we're doing a morning show on another station and a different show. And then we go up to a different station and we're doing mornings again. So you make everything of the past disappear. All the stuff where we were like, let's go St. Louis when we went up to Chicago was like, we maybe should make that private. Because like I mentioned back in the Chicago episode, they used that against us. When we came to Chicago, they used our St. Louis content against us, right? As a way to say these guys aren't Chicago. And no offense to anybody that lives in Chicago, but like a lot of people in Chicago aren't from Chicago. A lot of people who say they're in Chicago aren't from Chicago. But
Nope.
I understand we were like
They
infiltrated.
live in Buffalo Grove.
That's where I lived. Exactly. Unless you sleep on a mat underneath the intersection of Michigan and Wacker, you are not a Chicagoan, right? Like, and rest in peace to that guy that I used to see every morning. He was like super nice guy. Anyway, that kind of stuff, like we had to do that. But with this now being part of the YouTube partner program, having really relived a lot of our eras, do you think it's okay to just like open the vault, Remy, at this point? Like,
Yeah,
should we just make everything public
for sure.
selectively? Like those bad Friday jams might not come back.
Yeah, I think for the most part, a lot of the videos that we've covered in this podcast are available. So those are already up there. But there's a lot of them that aren't. Or, we used to do daily videos where we would just kind of tease the next day.
Oh yeah.
That might have just been on Facebook, but there's so much. I think there's like 15 or 20 pages of videos to comb through. So whenever we're preparing for these for these podcasts, I'm having to go through and you're having to go through, and we're trying to like pick the ones that we want. But there's so much out there. And to kind of piggyback off of what you said about stations wanting us to put the video or the content on their pages, it became very chaotic. And anybody who makes content now knows how chaotic it is. I think most of the world has accepted the vertical video at this point. I think the most common video shot is vertical video now. But even today, I just got some new rock for this aquarium back here, and I'm trying to document the unboxing, and I'm like, should I go vertical? Should I go horizontal? Is this going to be for a YouTube video? Is this going to be for Facebook? And then at the end of the day, you just do both. You just end up doing both. We'll add that onto what is this going to look like on Twitter? What is this going to look like on Facebook? What is this going to look like on YouTube? What is this going to look like on Instagram? You 5 different versions of the same freaking video at this point, because everyone has their own parameters. So it gets a little crunch. So I know that there are some videos that are just solely on Facebook because they are on radio stations that we used to work for, still on their Facebook pages. Thank you for not deleting them. It's somewhat fun to be nostalgic every once in a while, but some that just exist there and do not exist on our Mason and Remy YouTube. So, but there is no shortage of content on the YouTube page that has that's still private at this point. Will we see more copyright strikes? Probably.
Yeah, I'm noticing that actually as we get through it. But yeah, I was showing friends over the weekend the Blake Shelton video with the shake weight that we were recently kind of recapping, and I sent the link, and he said I can't see that, and I went, oh man, there is so much that I think we can see because we're like, we're in there, but we don't realize. I think YouTube at one point changed what unlisted and private meant, where it was like if you had a link, you could go to it, and now no, now no. So yeah, let's as this episode comes out, please take some time to explore the vastness of the Mason and Remy YouTube channel and relive probably a good 11 years of videos, and then a short break. And then, gosh, we've been doing this for a couple of months now, haven't we? We started in July. Is that right?
Yeah.
And now we're going to bring this, this podcast regularly. I saw a question about this because we've kind of talked in previous episodes about what we're going to do afterwards. We've even opened it up again in the comments if you want to leave a thought or there's something that you want to see us do or from us. What does that mean to you? I'm not sure. We talked about this being a bit of a Q&A. We have some unanswered questions that were on videos previously that we've released. Not necessarily like the old backlog or whatever, but like since we've started doing the No Frequency podcast, some people have asked some questions. And to the question that was, will there be another episode from B. Nicole RTU, right? Thank you. Yes. Next question. No, how many do you all think you will be doing? Just a small podcast to relive the past, or will you keep this up? Is the question. Very funny you mention it, as Remy and I spent a little time talking about that before we started recording, and we have really talked about that intermittently. Okay, pull back curtain time. Ready? I'm a stressful person to work with, and I love this. Like, I love what we're doing, and I care a lot about it. I think a lot about it, and that can be overwhelming. I don't want to put any pressure on this man who has way too much pressure in his life already. Just living. We all do. This should be fun. That was something I think I missed while we were working together. It should be more fun than strategically placed and thought out. Like I over analyze everything. So as soon as I got the email that was like the YouTube partner program, welcome Mason and Remy, I was like, ooh, starting to get that feeling, like y'all got some of that pressure. You got some of that anxiety. So I don't know. I don't want that. I don't want to bring that. And so when I'm saying this out loud is I want what we're doing here to continue. Yeah, there will be, I think, more episodes. What do we do in those episodes? Are they just Q&As? Are we talking about the doctor visit and chocolate being sold? I don't know. I've said before too that I could talk about anything with you. It's an election year. Probably not that. Probably not that. Probably not that. Feels like that's a bad direction to go, and will only give us about 2 months of content because then we'll have 4 years of whatever we got, right?
Yeah.
So either way, probably not a direction for us to go. So what can you expect? Probably not politics. That's maybe the limitations. What do you think?
Yeah, we can talk about Jesus. We can talk
Okay, yeah,
about
religion's the other one, right? Okay, so let's hold on, pause. Let's put a pin in that. Come back to it real quick. No, I always did have that joke as politics, religion, and Taylor Swift are so divisive. You don't want to talk a lot about them. We're already on the Taylor Swift bandwagon. So, I mean, is that already a political bandwagon? Depends on which AI you thought was real.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
the one going around right now, not to divert here, but the other one going around is if you ask your Alexa why you should vote for
whoever,
and for Trump it gives no answer, but for Harris it gives this huge long answer, and it's all fake.
It's not real video.
No, I was over here yesterday, like, I'll try it. I got one right here. And asked, and it said the same answer for both. I'm a bot. I do not give political.
It said I'm a bot
or something along those lines.
No, I love that. Actually, I know a lot of people that could give that answer.
It's just it's crazy how much like fake stuff is out there on both sides. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Say, like, why are people wasting their time idolizing any politician who is not going to change your life at the end of the day?
Ooh, hot takes.
Yeah.
All right. And we close the political door.
And it's
we'll put that back there in Pandora's box and maybe come back to that again in a couple months. No, I mean, I'm with you. And maybe is that the political take we get? We're about to go off-roading here, folks. Political parties are garbage. The system is broken. I don't know. Enjoy your time. It's limited. That's kind of like, that's my political stance. What party represents that? This shit ain't working. Enjoy what little time you have.
Yeah.
What party do I represent right now? I feel fairly confident saying that I will not upset people, but I know that there will be someone who's like, this is the greatest country on earth and our laws are in place. You know what I mean? I don't want to start doing that, but I just feel like we all kind of feel like there's some things happening right now that a lot of us probably are like, I wish this wasn't all we could do.
Yeah.
So we'll move on. Back to the question. Yeah, there'll be more episodes. Yeah, I mean, maybe after that, maybe not. We'll see. But we did want to open it up to some unanswered questions that we had here. And I know, Remy, you kind of added that one there. Is there one of these you want to dive into? Why don't you, like, if you want to pick one and we can go and we can just kind of like start talking about it. I know that we have a few we share a note. I don't know if I shared that. Remy and I share a note where we share things like, what should we call this podcast? And YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just where we, in the note, any question there that you want to grab, if you want to take one of those?
Yep. I'll just go with the first one. Hockey Goon 96.
Shout out. Subscribe for 11 years. Big shout out.
I am behind on episodes and just watched this one and knew most of the story. So, crazy question. How awkward was opening day in 2015 when The Mentor was there with his new show and you? I got selfies with you guys and with them, and this whole story coming to light made me think of that day and how that might be extremely uncomfortable. Can
you answer that? What?
Yeah, I can give a little context to that. So right after we got booted from mornings and we're now doing an afternoon show, But the new morning show was on their rainbow tour around the world to basically say, hey, we're the new morning show at all the different stations that they took over mornings. Opening day was right around that time. And as we've described to you, opening day in St. Louis is a very big deal. And they came down and rolled in and took a lot of the attention and a lot of the focus away from not only opening day but the station as a whole. And it was weird. I remember feeling like, I don't know, there's like it's almost like if you see your ex-girlfriend with her new boyfriend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, but the thing is it was all for show. Like that, and that's pretty much what you can. It's the photo op, right? It's the president flies into devastation, takes a picture, takes some video, does some interviews, and leaves. So I don't even know if they were there for the entire game, but it's funny because they come in, they get all this access. They're backstage at Busch Stadium, meeting players, all the things, taking pictures, and then they're gone. And Mason and I have been busting our asses for the last 3 or 4 years to try and get ourselves infiltrated, like into Busch Stadium and in with the right people and meeting Cardinals and, being a part of that whole thing. And they just like waltzed in the first 30 seconds and it was done. But I guess if you're a nationally syndicated radio show, you have a little bit more access than the local guys, right?
Yeah, maybe that speaks a little bit to how a company can back a talent, right? Like you can see what kind of strings get pulled for who. For us, it was boots on the ground. You guys get out there and do it. But when the company was backing the whole thing, every door was open and people were pushed right through. I do think this was a little later because I think we were in Chicago for this. I think it was a couple years after we had made the switch, because I remember seeing your friend here, the mentor, and saying thank you, because my understanding was he put in good words for us to go to Chicago, right? Like I remember this was and if I recall, the only interaction I ever had with him was I shook his hand and said, hey, thanks. I appreciate the kind words and your help in this. And he wouldn't like make eye contact, I remember. And like, I'm probably somewhere in the neurodivergent world as well. I have a hard time with that. So I'm not calling anybody out on that. But I was thankful. Like I tried to walk that high road, you know what I mean? That people say to walk, instead of going like, hey, dude, you took my dream. I didn't want to be that guy. Instead, I said, hey, I appreciate, because in losing what I thought was my dream, we had then new door opened, right? So I wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you. And I remember he was like, no, thank you. And it didn't really want to. I got the feeling he didn't really want to talk to me about it, because I think he knew that it wasn't going to be going on forever, or that he wanted it, right? Like, because it later came that he would end up, the same thing would happen in St. Louis and Chicago. We would go for 3 years and they would put on another show. So it's almost, and I've had this philosophy about it since then. We were the infantry. We were the boots on the ground doing the actual battle. And then once the battle was waged, and that other station that had been there forever was lying in somewhat of disarray, the general or whoever came in afterwards and said, I won.
That's a great analogy.
So, and whether we died on the battlefield or made it back home, we were heroes either way. And our heroes' welcome back was thank you, farewell.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. I remember that question here was, I got selfies with you guys. Not a question, a statement. I got selfies with you guys and with them. This whole story comes to light, made me think of that day, and it had to make that extremely uncomfortable. Yep.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. You know who was? I enjoyed talking to other people that were a part of that group. I remember having good conversations with other hosts, even producers over time that were on the show. Great people to talk to and deal with. And, I wish it was different, but that's just my experience. It's all I can share. I didn't have a lot of interaction there. And this was, I feel like, the one time I did. Yep. Super uncomfortable. You're right. I hope we covered it up well in the moment. I don't know what your picture looks like, but if I'm like, I hope you understand. Any other memories from that day? Because they would have these big beats, and obviously it's budget. You got to fly people in. We were in Chicago, so we had to come into town for this. And I remember it was always about, we're going to take care of you, and they wouldn't. Like they said we're going to do this a couple times a year, and they didn't. So like we had to crash at people's houses that we knew or something like that. Like, you know, you would come to town, and we don't have a hotel, but like, you know, you can stay with a friend maybe for a night or something like that. Or we'd have to drive immediately back up for 5 hours to get back home in time to make the next day's show. Meanwhile, these guys are flying all over the place and doing shows in every market because they needed to get their boots dirty and get on the ground. So for opening day or that float trip thing, those would have been the times for that station that they would come through. It's different for every station. You know, every station has their flagship events.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely, I still remember that. And even though I tend to block out a lot of those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that most interactions with that dude were awkward, and uncomfortable for the most part. After the initial, what's the word I'm looking for? Commandeering of our show. After that, every instance after that was uncomfy. So, but that's what it is. So.
Yeah, that's too bad. Let's go to another, I guess, a comment here from Stephanie, who said the industry is exactly what you said, mentally and emotionally abusive. I'm so sorry. Management loves to build you up, all to gaslight you and make you feel crazy. I can relate to this thought. I feel like they told us how great we were to the point, like, there's a part of that you need as a performer. Like, I understand sometimes why artists who make music have these weird, wild lifestyles where people cater to their every need, because when they're in that state, they make money for people. Same thing about sports, right? Athletes. We'd always have this conversation. The baseball players get paid to go out there and hit the ball 1 out of 3 times, and they get a lot of money for it. And we're doing 5 shows a week. You know, not all of them are going to be stellar, knockdown, drag out, you know, home run festivals. I would like to think that the average is good. They would tell you you're great. Maybe that's just to inflate the ego and put us out there to do more or make us feel better to create more. Either way, once it was over, you realized the reality. Like I remember thinking, and he maybe even saying to you at one point, no, people are going to be reaching out. Don't worry, brother. Like we're doing great. And they didn't. And we're like, what's happening? You know what I mean? They said we were great. We had stations in other cities who wanted us to be a part of their stations. And then suddenly nobody. Did we get blackballed? Did we get like put on a list? I definitely think that part of their strategy is to make people like me, who may have somewhat of a fragile ego or a fragile existence, built up in a way so that they can advantage from it. And I understand, like, business is business. There's always going to be another Mason, maybe somebody like me who they can do that to, but it just feels like a cycle that doesn't need to keep eating good people, because it feels like a lot of good people have been eaten because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Call me crazy, but I feel crazy. The question was, the industry makes you feel crazy. I've had that question a lot.
Do you know Stephanie?
Maybe.
Stephanie worked at one of the stations. She was a fill-in part-time person for one of the stations in our building, and was promised and groomed and all the things to be a full-time personality. And when push came to shove, was not given that opportunity. And so she is very much in that, like, and I think she's speaking about one person in particular, and gaslighting should be this man's middle name. Everything he said was not truthful. I don't think there was any truth that ever came out of this dude's mouth, ever. And even now looking back on it, hindsight is always 2020.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable how some of these middle managers in the world of radio are still there in existence with the amount of lies that they tell in a day. It's insanity.
It is insanity and insanity. And I agree with that. And I hate to say, I think it's a strategy that they understand. Like they know what they're doing. You can't be in that position and not know what you're doing unless you're the devil. Maybe I feel like I understand, like, well, being a manager is hard and you got to deliver bad news. Here's a life update from Mason. I just passed on that people manager thing. I had a note from a coworker and I like took it so personally. And I was like, I don't want this. And I told my boss that. Like I went to my boss and was like, I don't want this. I'm my neighbor passed away and it made me question my mortality. And I don't want another Friday like I just had where I'm stressed about some people. Like I can't let the way that other people operate impact me like it has. And when I care about something, I care about it. And this is, by the way, this all ties back into that whole thing we're talking about right now, is that I felt this meant the world to me. And I felt we were so good that what we were doing meant so much that I could be an asshole from time to time, right? I could give those terrible reviews and yell at people for coming in when the light was on, because that's a lesson you need to learn. It's a lesson I learned, I felt like I needed to be that person. And you don't. There are other ways. And as I was telling my now boss, the way he came back and was like, hey, that's very mature of you to realize that, to know that you don't maybe want that. And I was like, just the way that he handled me telling him that, I don't have that natural instinct. Some people do. Some people managers do. Some people who care about other people do. My natural instinct is to try and solve an issue, right? Like maybe you go through this with your wife, she's telling you something, and I'm like, here's how you take care of that. She's like, that's not what I want. I just want to I want empathy. I want you to listen. You know what I mean? Like my natural instincts aren't there. So it's hard for me to be like, I know what I'm talking about anymore, because at this age, I feel like I know nothing. You know what I mean? I was so convinced that I was so good at something, and then so convinced that I was so bad at something in the same time, right? Like interactions with the people I worked with closely, you and the other folks that came along the path, they will tell you that I was a difficult person to work with, right? So in one year, we're getting, you guys are so great. And then in the other year, I'm going, I know that I'm like not doing the right things and people are not happy with who I am as a person. It's hard to find a comfortable place in the world of performance to operate productively and positively, at least for me, and still maintain everything else perfectly. I've always been an ends justify the means kind of guy. And that don't work no more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a good example, because she said mentally and emotionally abusive, and I've likened this to kind of being in one of those situations on the mental side of things. My now boss, after our most recent event, or actually before the most recent event that we had in Chattanooga, had said, "Hey, let's get together after the show, just you and I, and have breakfast." Because I want to talk to you face to face. And I was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
I texted him. I was like, are you firing me? Are you doing a pay decrease? Are we like, and I was half joking, but half serious at the same time. And the next text that came out was, wow, radio really did mess you up. And I go, yeah, because you can't just have like a normal conversation with someone without worrying about your job. Lauren was listening to, I forget what episode we talked about, but when I was on vacation and they had some dude fill in for me, and I was worried that I was going to lose my job to this guy. Like that shouldn't be a thing that happens. Like it just shouldn't.
100%. And by the way, also at a union station, like there should be someone there fighting to make sure that doesn't happen. A union steward. I had that position at one point. I was fired.
And it never got filled because nobody wanted it.
I don't know why. I don't know why, because they want to. I don't want to. Yeah. Let's keep doing this.
So, yeah, but Stephanie, if I could just have 1 second to say how amazing of a person she is, and um like she lifted as well, and so we'd often see each other in the work gym, which was an actual nice gym, and I miss it, and I wish I could have told all the old guys that I worked out with bye, but I didn't get that opportunity. But sometimes she'd show up and we would just like stop lifting and just talk for a half an hour to 45 minutes about all of the BS that happened in the station on a daily basis. It's just not human. And I think that that's the best description of what happens in a radio building. Is there's so much mind manipulation that it becomes like an unlivable space, and you're constantly worried about your job. And being creative on top of that is just impossible. And I know that we've covered that in a previous episode, but I think Stephanie's at a better place now. I think she's got good work, but yeah, I think from her perspective, it's probably really nice to hear that there's a couple of guys that are out that are talking like this, because it is like, you see it and you're like, "Yeah, it's not right." But
So
it continues to happen.
yeah. And I'm sorry, Stephanie, first, I have the worst memory. And I'm sorry first for that, because I feel like I meet people 7 times. And if I have met you 4 or 5, I apologize that I'm not in there. But this feels very much like the MO of a guy that I know we've both worked for, who has many friends who just want to stay friends so that they don't miss out on that opportunity, to the point that they will like stay friends for years and years and years and be passed over for hundreds of jobs, but still the opportunity. And that's what feels like was happening there. Was all the friends of people were spared or gifted, but if you were not part of that clique there, you're out. And if you're like us and you have families and don't have an alcohol problem, you're not out drinking every night at these different events. So that's not a life you want to live. And if you're not there, you're not part of that clique. And now that clique is talking about you.
Yep.
And that's, they're formulating whatever is going to happen in the next weeks or whatever. Like, you could see it.
Oh,
Because
for
it happened while you're in rooms with other people. The
Yeah.
clique is fighting amongst the clique, and they're like battling back and forth. It's just like what is the Mean Girls clique? Like, it's so great to see you. I hate it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Yeah.
like that. And then it's at a higher level too, where it's in control of it's like protecting people and then using people. And I feel like some of the people that we worked with closely got chewed up in that, because they believed they were going to be raised to the top if they worked in the convention that was placed in front of them. And having done that, now they're realizing that nothing is promised, and nothing means nothing to some people. And that sucks. I hate to see that. I hate to know that people are living in that. I hate to know that so many people you and I have talked to still believe that, there's a possibility that I know this guy and I want to stay friends with him because I might be able to make my way into a good opportunity. But man, there are so many, first off, better opportunities and better people in this world than some of those that exist.
Yeah, I will say that's one, and I think you were also in this boat. Made the decision to not partake in that kind of activity as 40-year-old people who have responsibilities and children. I couldn't justify staying out until 2 or 3 a.m. on a Wednesday night drinking. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, how are you functioning and living a life that you're like, I don't want to judge other people's lifestyles, but like, I know what happens if I don't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
So adding on alcohol to that and partying the night before and then coming into function the next day, like, how do you do that? I guess that all kind of, you kind of get used to that over time, and that's what alcoholism is.
Mhm.
But I'm so happy that I didn't succumb to that. Hey, I wish we were closer. We should be closer. Come hang out after the show. And it's like, bro, It's 8:30. It's bedtime.
Yeah,
I'm not going to a bar with everybody to sit around and look at miserable people until 2 a.m. It's just not going to happen. So I'm happy that did not transpire. Did I pay for it? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe we both did because we're not, you know what I mean? And I'd much rather have paid for that than had, I don't know, psoriasis of the liver or something like that.
Yeah, or
You know?
DUIs, things like that.
Right. The folks who can't drive anymore because they needed to talk with a client on a Wednesday night about I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anyways, I could go down a rabbit hole here, but
that's probably a fine
maybe
place to
move on.
put it back in between the lines. Yeah, for sure. Let's go to another question here. This looks like a multi-parter from Dan. It says, finish this episode looking up. Oh, he's up back at episode 5. I was shocked and excited to see Mason and Remy show up in my Facebook feed. I learned of you right when I moved home from Chicago in January 2015, which is, by the way, right when we started in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So caught us right at the start of our adventure there. It was a fresh start for me again and learning all the Chicago radio stations again. I was looking for a new morning commute show and found you guys. This episode was amazing as it brought to light what I was assuming had happened to you in Alabama. I'm glad to hear you wanted Alabama on the team and she wasn't just an industry plant that I was suspecting. Bro, first off,
was humans that terminology back then?
That's what I'm saying. Like humans' hatred for industry plants is unmatched right now. Like right now, we're not having that industry stuff. It's got to be organic. And that is something we fought even back then, because weirdly, yeah, sometimes there's people in the industry who are going, let's do this. You know what I mean? When we meet with a band who's like, we'll see you in 6 years, it's kind of hard to ignore. You know what I mean? They're like, we're going to spend the next 5 years on the road. Then we spend a year making our album and our video. And then we'll see you back here for the release of that. Yeah, there are industry plants for sure on the charts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them. But no, Alabama was not an industry plant. I guess as far as Steve, our boss, works in the industry and knew of her and her talent and wanted her on the air, I guess that could be an industry plant. But Steve is a smart guy and he knows good talent. So I saw nothing nefarious in the appointment of Alabama. And yes, we always wanted more characters on our show, whether that was Leon doing his Countryside or Sticky Pete from Festus, you know what I mean? Or whoever it is. Characters were always something that we talk about. Randy and Marv are another example of characters, you know what I mean? But in different ways. And while Alabama is, yes, her own and not a character, really a person, still a character on our show, right? Like loved having that. And I've said this to you guys. I don't know if I've ever said it outwardly. And I hope by now Alabama knows this is in no way insulting. But Alabama's like a wild horse. You could not tame Alabama. There was no taming Alabama into what we wanted to do on the show because she was so set. Like, look, she had her upbringing, as we all have, and we all go out there and, you know, some of us have a harder time than others. She definitely was not given a easy ride to where life has taken her. And so we were cognizant of that. And we even talked about it in the episode where adjusting to the morning routine, not easy, especially when Alabama was like on the other side, like out Wednesday nights, like doing the thing, like having parties. And then we'd go, she going to make it today? Should we call the front desk and you know, like check on her? Or is she all right? We have got her location. Her location says she's at home. Let's, you know, she's good. We're good. You know, those kind of things. But we were all young. We all had to go through that at one point before we became, you know, settled into being more comfortable, not being night owls. We all had to be night owls and do those kind of things. So no, Bama, not an industry plant. I guess kind of you might like, I don't know. What's your definition of industry plant? Remy, I don't think she was an industry plant on the show. I think we loved what she brought to the table.
No. And if to go on the characters on the show, if you look at any successful syndicated national, whatever broadcast, you're looking at no less than 5 people on the show that have microphones in front of their face. You know, there's some exceptions. I think the Breakfast Club, there's only 3 of them, but still, most have A players, B players, and then side players,
Mhm.
whether that be interns or producers or whatever. So it's just good to have those different characters, because there's not just two different types of people. There's a lot of different types of people. So the more you can cover with that and get specific, like the guy that disagrees with everything on the show. He may not actually disagree with everything, but he does it to get you to call, or to get you to participate in the show in some way, shape, or form. So if that is through hatred, and that his one goal is to get you to hate him, so be it. He might not actually be that person in real life, and at least from the heels, as they call them, that I've met, they're not. They're actually pretty cool people. So
Yes. Yeah.
but it's a character on it's a character on the show that gets a rise out of the audience, and that's their entire goal. We never had, I don't think we really had, I think it was probably you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I definitely wanted to step in front of that bus, because I didn't want you to have to feel like you were younger, and I wanted you to be the most loved person on our show. So I was always willing to bite that bullet and be bad cop when it was time. What, that baseball that you caught as a foul ball, you're gonna give it to the kid, or you're gonna keep it? Nope, Mason keeps it. Remy is like, no, why would you do that?
I'd keep it for sure.
See,
now I have my own kids, so I can just be like, I'm gonna give it to my kids.
I'm gonna give it to my kids and put it on the shelf in my living room.
Yeah. Also, it's never happened in my life before, so
that was my argument. That was my argument at the time. I was like, I've never caught a foul ball. This kid still has a chance.
He's got so many more years ahead of him.
So that was a lot of the great debates that we did when you talk about antagonist, protagonist, very basic storytelling things, guys. Like, right? Every story has a hero and a villain. And what we want to do is the same as someone going right now. All you have to do is take your recessed peanut butter and put it in. And now the comments are, did he say recess? You know what I mean? And it's like, that is content creation in 2024. I promise you, anything you see online that you think, idiot, nope, actually smart, really on purpose. And if you bite on it, I'm sorry, you're the idiot. I'm sorry.
You took the bait. You're the blue girl that ate the worm.
It's wrestling terms. You're a mark. And you talked about the heel. You have your baby face and your heels. There's the heel that's in there and going, I was having a great day till I got to this town. Boo, this town sucks. You know what I mean? It was like that. We'd go on the air and Remy would go, I love Hocus Pocus. And I would be like, that's a terrible movie. Let whatever unfold in the comments. Imagine if we did want to go down the political road, guys. Imagine they're doing it too. If you think they're not, they are. And it actually has an impact much greater than anything we'd ever done.
Yep.
It's kind of wild and crazy to think about it. But we're getting closer to that side of the world we don't want to go into, right? Let's come on back to the rest of
we just nudge the wall.
I just want to give you a little taste of what is out there in the real when I watch like TV and go, this is terrible. I can't do this anymore. There were more comments from Dan. He was happy to hear that we wanted Alabama on the team. Yes, again, and was really great to have her on the podcast. Listen to the Alabama show on some network of radio stations or apps somewhere. Sorry, Bama, love you. Not them. He said, it didn't help with my suspicions that you lost your jobs and she kept hers. I thought that they were grooming her to be bigger than you guys. I'm glad I was wrong, and it was for other reasons the show was let go. First off, no, you're right. Bama way bigger than us. Ken and still has that potential because she's still there. Probably not us. I don't know if we're gonna get that syndicated deal anymore. As we're seeing some of, like we mentioned, consultants and former bosses, they've commented. We're pretty much done. It's probably not happening. It's pretty much done there.
Unless there is a bold program director, consultant, whatever person that has, the keys to a podcast or whatever that doesn't want to shy away from the truth and this produced fake radio world that everybody lives in right now, then that might be an option.
And that's a risk. That's a risk for them, right? It's a financial risk because they know they've got the plan. Look, these fake bits have been working. I can just put this show on and it costs me nothing.
Yeah.
When we were thinking
second date update, look. What a creep this guy is.
That's right. See you next week for the same piece of content. with different actors.
Yeah.
But and I get it. Listen, it's a fine job. Like Dr. Phil, you think he comes in every day and is like, I don't know if I like what I'm doing, or if he's like swimming in his money, going, hell yeah, bring more in. Like I don't know. Those folks are on the way to the bank with their check, and I'm not. So what can I say? But there's still opportunity there. I was thinking while we were talking earlier, the only way that something could ever come back is if someone vowed to fight these things. If someone who is hungry to be in radio wants to fix this problem of the machine just chewing up creative, talented people and spitting them out, that would be a place where I'd be willing to talk. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see it. No one can guarantee that. There is no job security in that world, unfortunately. Business is business. That could be said for a lot of different things, but yeah, I do think that that Bama's in a great place, and if she's happy, that's what's important.
Yeah, and I will say that at almost every event, it was not where's Mason and Remy, it is where's Alabama.
Well, the loudest, and to a point of other shows, you have that breakout talent, right? When people come to see the mentor, do they come to see the mentor, or do they come to see the loudmouth?
Yeah, that's a good point.
There was always the stunt guy on the show when I started. He was the wacky guy out in the street doing stuff. And I'm like, in our dynamic, I was the straight guy, and you were the person that people would have gravitated to. Let's be honest. You were the protagonist, and I was the antagonist in our group. So yeah, there's a formulaic method to what we had been trying to do. Dan then said, keep up the great work. We will try. I'm now excited for my long Chicago commutes because of these 2-hour podcasts carry over many days. It's fresh and a fun listen. I'm sorry if we are talking too much, but there's a lot to say. I don't know if they'll all be 2 hours. We are trying not to put too many restraints on what this is. I feel like what we did together for 14 or 11 years or whatever it was very constricted and was very like, you must operate in here. And now we don't have to. Now it's me and this guy making all the calls, and we can do whatever we want. And so we're easing into what this is. We also don't know what this is.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that everybody knows something. Also, I noticed about radio in the end is like, when you mentioned you were on the radio, people went, oh, so if you made a video, it had less of an impact. And I believe it was because we were trying. Like, we wanted so badly to make a viral video that no videos were viral. It was only when we stopped did we realize, shit, one of those videos went viral.
Yeah.
We had no idea.
Yeah. Little did we know that all you have to do is be caught on some random street in Nashville on a party night and say Hawk Tua, and boom, you got yourself a $100,000 podcast all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all you need. And she was not trying at all.
But you know what? She's got an agent, and people are booking her to be on all kinds of shows, and she's getting paid. You know what it reminds me of? When the Real World cast used to come to the bar. You remember?
Yes.
Well, I know you remember because you have a lot of, maybe in the next episode, we'll recap Remy's interactions with various Real World people who came through.
But only one.
Was there?
There one that I remember that I had a crush on, at least.
In this town, is it Svetlana?
Svetlana, yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure I knew.
I don't think she's in a good place right now, but I could be wrong.
I don't know if a lot of them are in a good place, but see, there's a lot of Mickey Mouse folks who weren't in a good place anymore either. True. Listen, the like the Real World cast or Jersey Shore cast would come out. We lived in a college town, so of course they made the tour. They came into town for a night, drank their face off at some bar, probably made a bunch of money, met some random person to sleep with for the night, and then went on to the next town. That seemed like the life for those folks. Just wild to think of that was a thing. But that's what it kind of, I don't know. It kind of feels like similar in weird ways. But for as far as 2 hours of a podcast, I have a feeling this one's going to be a little shorter. I don't know if that's going to be the average runtime or not. Like I said, no constraints on this. Feels good. They would have lost their minds if we talked for 2 hours on the radio. Yeah. I think we were on the air for 4 hours, but we got out of that with maybe an hour of content with how restricted we were. 4 hours on the air, maybe an hour of us actually doing stuff.
Yeah. I remember it was about 6 or 7 months after you had got let go. the ratings had dipped a little bit, or I forget what happened exactly, but we may have been having a little bit too much fun in breaks, which I thought was a good thing, maybe going over 3 minutes or whatever. And we went into the office and the boss was like, we're clamping down everything. You will no longer be on the air for longer than a minute. I was like, there's 3 people on the show. How is that going to happen? And so when we started doing our podcast, our show podcast, it was like 28 minutes
of
a 4-hour show. Yeah,
right. That's all the breaks that were on the radio in between songs and commercials. So it was, you were doing, this much, but coming out with this much, right? Is what you're saying?
It wasn't affected. The ratings never affected.
It sucks.
It didn't help. So
I have a lot to say about it, but I'm going to hold it back. I think everybody can probably know. Probably has an idea of what I'm already thinking. But I hate to hear that. It sucks. But that was, definitely something for us. We have so much to say. Obviously, here we're not even getting paid for it and doing it for hours. Imagine when we had if we'd had a budget, or someone who wanted us to be successful. I feel like it could have been really great, but we're after that now. We'll finish up reading his comment. He does enjoy the podcast. He says it's a fresh and fun listen. Hard to watch the clips while driving. Sorry about that. But I think it's limiting to be a just auditory medium anymore, when we can show you so much. I know you want to listen to it, and that's fine. I get that. Like, consume it in what ways you can, but I think we're limiting ourselves if we go just audio. Especially with the way that we have integrated video so heavily into what we do. He said, I'm glad that you're doing things that make you happy. Thank you. Lastly, that other syndicated guy had a really lame show, and I'm glad they failed in Chicago. Those are not my words. Those are the words of Dan, who commented on a video. Thank you, Dan.
Syndicated and Chicago are 2 words that do not go well together.
Yeah.
That's how it is. I think that should be every major city.
It really should.
If you're a smaller city, if you're like I don't know, like a Wichita or like a Peoria, Illinois, or random mid-market, whatever, you should expect syndication in those areas, because they don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in their budget to pay somebody. So, but when you are in a top 3 market, there should be no syndication. Everybody should be there, in my opinion, except for Steve Harvey.
Well, and I think that was even something they talked to us about when we came to Chicago. Is like, I don't want any syndication on the air here, because Chicago's a big enough city that Chicago should fuel Chicago. When we talked about how we were replaced in St. Louis, that's where that cutoff line was for that company. When we talk about smaller towns, they considered St. Louis below that line of just, we can put on a syndicated show here and just save a bunch of money. Personally, I think radio needs to reevaluate what it's charging for its listenership. Because if you don't have millions of dollars of an advertising budget, are you going to get on the air in a Chicago radio station? Probably not. You're not going to beat out big companies that are spending a lot of money there. So no, there's no revenue coming in from actual people who live and start businesses in Chicago. You've just got national businesses there. That should be enough to fund a radio station to put talented people on the air in a large city. Maybe that's not happening in St. Louis as much as it is in Chicago. I will say St. Louis, maybe 1/8, 1/10 of the population of the area of Chicago, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was like 8 million back when we were there, and it's a little under 1 million in St. Louis metro area.
Total. I mean, St. Louis proper is like 300,000, but the whole area is like, I think it's like 2.2 or something like that.
Okay. So. But it's still a percentage, and understandable if it's considerably smaller. But should a city the size of St. Louis be the line where you're just no longer like, are we saving money in big markets now? Are we in that much trouble?
Yeah. It's just going to keep moving up. And it's probably moved up to 10, top 10 markets at this point. I'm sure there's syndication on it in the top 10 markets for sure.
And you can't say they didn't have the budget for it, because the station that we were on is still operating live and locally with a morning talent. So I mean, I know that they loved that country thing. I think they wanted to try and put on a syndicated show there, and it didn't work. Right? Like you're saying, syndicated doesn't work in Chicago because there's just too much Chicago happening for you to be talking about anything but Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that New York and LA might be exceptions to the rule because and I don't want to speak for the people that live there, but it feels more disconnected. For whatever reason, Chicago still felt, like a
Mhm.
big Midwestern city to where people did care about what was going on. And I know that there's New Yorkers that I'm New York, and then there's California, there's LA people that live there and they're
California.
very California. And have pride in that. But I don't think that I've ever seen so much city pride as I did when we were in Chicago. It just,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a city rooted in the Midwest. And I'll speak for the people of New York and Chicago. You transient towns. Your people come to your town and go, wow. And then they decide if they're going to stay or leave. Right. Like again, a lot like Chicago, a lot of people who are, I'm from there, aren't right, but
yeah.
they call it home. And I get that. I'm not putting that down. If Chicago's your home, I grew up in Saginaw, Michigan, and the number of people who were like, Detroit, we were like, no, dude, no, you don't live in Detroit. Like, stop it. And I get it. You got pride for your city. And yeah, it should be the same like that in New York and in LA. But, are they talking about traffic on the highways in LA, or are they like more trying to sell something to you? Same thing about New York. Are they talking about what's going on in one of the boroughs, or are they more like, check out Lady Gaga's new song? It's not local when you're on that level. And they want to be, but they can't, and they don't, but they will in a weird way. It's almost like philosophies don't match with what happens in some ways. Maybe I'm misinformed, but observationally, I know the guys that are like on the air in LA, they aren't necessarily guys who know every street name. You know what I mean? We came to St. Louis and had to learn how to say De Pere and Gravois. You know what I mean? You got to go through that. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about before you know what you're talking about, or you're from there.
Mhm.
You're a hero. But the guys that make it to that level aren't usually just hometown heroes. So they miss out on the opportunities to become real heroes because we're syndicating everything everywhere. And that means the people who used to be in the pool of talent are just ever shrinking, and they're going other places. So back to the point, if somebody's out there thinking I can save this, I have ideas. I mean, please, I would love to. I want to be wrong. I don't like shitting on this industry I gave 25 years of my life to. I feel bad about that. But I feel bad that it keeps happening again and again and again and again to good people. You want to take this comment here?
Sure.
From Adams?
So Adams 7763. I'm glad you guys are back. This is so interesting. I wish I could say I listened a lot, but I did tune in a lot. I would.
Sorry. I like that's like
but I did tune in a lot.
I was watching, but I wasn't watching. I wasn't paying
Yeah.
attention, right? Like, yeah, it was on.
I would listen to you guys driving to and from school in the 2012 to 2013 era.
All right.
So this was St. Louis,
Mhm.
and my drive was real short, so I'd only listen for a few minutes at the time. But you were certainly the best. I only have one question. You said at the start of all this you weren't country fans. Has country grown on you, and would you consider yourself fans now?
You first.
I will say that I never considered myself a country fan. I would not consider myself a country fan now. I will say that there are certain artists that I do like and that I appreciate, and those ones are usually the ones that make real music. I never got into the Florida Georgia Line, Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean thing. I'm more of a Chris Stapleton, Dierks Bentley, like the guys that have actual instruments and a lot of these guys stand up on stage with instruments, but they don't actually play them. Just watch and see how many times that guitar actually strums. I'm not saying that they don't know how. I'm just saying that might not be their show.
They also might not know how.
Yeah. Sam Hunt and all these, like, I don't know. I'm more prone to listening to music with a southern rock slash like bluegrass kind of feel than I am the what we would call bro country. I do not actively listen to country music. I do not seek it out. But I will say that I don't really seek out a lot of mainstream music. And that's not a hipster comment. That's just we've heard so much of it over the years that it's just all tired and worn. I mean, sometimes we'll pop on the radio station just to listen to Casey on the way in the morning. And it's like, dude, music director still copying and pasting that music log. We hear the same songs at the same time every day. Could you be more lazy? There's just no variety. There's no variety, and I like variety. I like to listen to weird stuff. So
With
that's kind of my musical taste.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
First up, but that Childish Gambino album though.
Yeah.
That's great. There's like 7 different genres in one album from a super talented guy who should get all the accolades. Musical taste is interesting too for me. I've always liked all kinds of music, and we talked about how no, we weren't country fans. I'm not a fan of just genres. Like if you're just a country fan, you're limiting yourself in my eyes. Like, why not explore elsewhere? There are great melodies and songs that are written in all kinds of formats. Did you know that if you speed up Hosier, it sounds like Dolly Parton? And if you slow down Dolly Parton, it sounds like Hosier. It's like the same music if you listen to it. The music has always been super interesting. And one thing I realized about a lot of the artists that we met is that they didn't look at themselves as country artists. They looked at themselves as artists, and they could go to a show like the Grammys and talk to a rap artist and talk to a rock artist, talk to a country or pop artist, and they've all experienced kind of the same things. That's their community. Making music. I like music. I like good music. It's few and far between anymore. But for me, 25 years in radio, that's 25 years of looking at concerts differently. It's not like I'm going to have a beer and sit on a hill. It's like, what do the acoustics sound like? There's the soundboard. Check out who's on the side of the stage. What time is the meet and greet? What record people are in town that we have to talk to? When you're so businessed on music loses some of its music. And so you start seeing through. I want to talk about industry plants. Yeah, there's a lot in the music industry that they are pushing hard because it is an investment for them. This is a product for them. That's what they want to do. Nashville wants to make more country music. Post Malone, Beyonce, what's happening?
I was just going to bring that up. Like, so many people don't listen to a genre alone, and so you have these floaters, the Taylor Swifts of the world, who are exploring different genres and getting just absolutely annihilated for doing that, but pushing through and being rewarded because of it. So I think she walked so Post Malone and Beyonce could run in the country music world, right? Like Post Malone is just raking it up right now. And part of me wants to know if he's like bamboozling all of country listeners right now. Like, I can do this. Who doesn't do this? But try to get Luke Bryan over to pop, and it just doesn't work. But Post Malone is so much of a chameleon that he can pop into any genre he wants. And maybe he's just bored with the stutter rap or whatever they call, that genre.
Yeah, the auto-tune mumble rap.
Mumble rap, yeah.
I'm a rock star.
Yeah, maybe he's over that and he actually wants to explore other genres.
This is how auto-tune. I don't know a Post Malone song.
You do.
Do I?
Yeah.
What one?
Like Circles?
Circles. Does it go like that? Is it like circles?
Nailed.
Turned on my auto tune. I don't know if it worked. Did it work? Or did I just Bailey Zimmer that?
No, I think you were so on key that it was like, no, you got it.
Wow. Amazing.
But yeah, I feel like music shouldn't be genrefied now.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's gentrified, right? Like, yeah, it's segregated.
There's a lot of country artists that have tried to do that over the years, and most notably, I go to Jason Aldean with Dirt Road Anthem. And that was a different sound. A lot of people were like, "What's this rap and country music? This is not what this is." And you'll hear that every day in country radio. "This ain't my country. Where's Merle Haggard? Where's George Strait? I need King George every 10 seconds on this." It's like it evolves, and
It's ain't country. Mm-hmm.
if you're not evolving with it, then you're stuck. That's why Spotify is winning. That's why YouTube is winning, and that's why radio is leaving, because music radio it can't fulfill the needs of everybody, especially when there's other choices on where to go to get what you do need. So you're losing listenership. The amount of people that do not and did not listen to my show, being friends or family members, was astounding. Like, cool to say that your friend or family member is on the radio, but then they don't listen to it. They listen to whatever they want because there's a lot of crap that is played on the radio over and over again to get you to like the song, or to get you to buy the album, or to get you to go to the show. It's all product, just like we were.
Yeah,
just product.
Yeah. Made to sell you caffeine in pill form and low interest rate mortgages. At one point, and that said, shit, we were making good money doing it. I do remember one comment from I think it was Matt, who had said the actual excitement about a low interest home rate, like he felt that it was real. Like that was real excitement. So if you go back to some of our first content, we were super excited about, like, I don't know, meeting Will Ferrell, and now we're super excited about low interest mortgage loan rates. This is just us growing up and you coming along for the ride.
Yeah.
So I appreciate
Windows. Get your buy one, get one free Windows.
Yes. Yeah. And that era that Adams was talking about, 2012, 2013, was when we were really going on KSD in St. Louis. And it was right when they took it away from us. So,
yep.
Has country grown on you, and would you consider yourself fans now? I can't say I'm a fan. If anything, I have like trauma with it, where I hear like a twang of something and I go, and I'm reminded of some moment. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's almost like a scent memory. When I hear the guitar of Dirt Road Anthem, I like the hair on my neck stands up, and I suddenly feel like I have to like put my head down, and I'm sad about something. But Eric Church, Dierks Bentley, Chris Stapleton, like you said, big artists that mean it, artists that do it, live it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was just telling this story the other day about Dierks Bentley and our first interview with Dierks when he brought his dog Jake, and we were like nervous. It was our first time in Nashville. We were running through 100 different artists, and up walks this curly-haired young guy with his dog, and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm Dierks. This is Jake." And I just remember like, I'll never forget that. Like, that's where I was like, these guys are different. Like, the country artists, like the artists that actually care about this, are different. Dierks Bentley, like, going down that 90s cover band road, he saw it. I think the industry missed out on something right there. COVID hit right at that time too, now that I think about it. So unfortunate timing, but I feel like Dierks should be a bigger star than he is.
Yeah. Maybe he likes it that way.
Yeah, maybe. It might give him the freedom to be Dierks, because I don't know if Taylor Swift can move like Taylor Swift always wants to move now. You know what I mean? And she goes on, she falls in love, and they're like, "Do you know how much carbon footprint you're leaving flying all over the country to see your husband or your boyfriend or whatever?" Like,
yeah.
you can't even fall in love when you're a rich person. It's hard to move out there. So I hope Dierks feels good. He's like, when someone says, "Are you a country fan?" I'm like, I don't know. I hope Dierks Bentley is doing well. That's kind of what I hope. There were others. I told a story too about like Darius Rucker giving the bottle of whiskey to me and me not taking it out of my backpack and losing it at the TSA checkpoint. Like, good people. Darius was always like, "You want to talk football? He was
Mhm.
always up for it. You know what I mean? There's some good people out there, and there's some who aren't.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm a fan of good music. And lately, I have not listened to anything except the Childish Gambino album, Bando Stone, and the New World on repeat, to the point that my days don't go well if I don't start with it. Like, it's just has a lot of places to go. If you're a fan of music in general, maybe you liked that show Community, and that one guy on the show you thought was funny. That's Donald Glover. He's Childish Gambino, and he is one of the best artists of our time. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Right. Put
Yeah.
that shit on wax. What do you say? Certified stamp, 100% willing to go on the record. I'm not willing to give my stamp to a lot of people, but I think he's one of them.
Yeah. My guy right now is Cody Fry, and he is an American Idol reject. I think he placed like 13th or something one season.
Okay.
But is a composer and writes symphonies.
Ooh.
Combines his kind of pop music with the symphony. So we've now gone to see him twice in concert. We went once in DC to the Kennedy Center to see him play with the National Symphony Orchestra, him and Ben Rector. And then we went most recently in St. Louis. I think it was maybe 3 months ago. He played it at Stiefel. And I'm telling you, that kind of music is the kind of music that I enjoy because nobody knows about it. It's unique, and you're never going to hear that on the radio. But I think I've always been moved by orchestral music, and I think it has something to do with hundreds of people all working together to make a sound.
Yeah.
And that's very moving to me. I don't know what it is, but you know, it's there aren't many moments where I feel tears welling up in my eyes when I'm listening to music, and I think that might be a good indicator that is
It means something.
that means something. I'm feeling something, and I got to be honest, I never felt that with country music.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair. Like,
Maybe
there are
that one Kit Moore song, "Hey Pretty Girl," you know, and knowing that your wife is pregnant, and the imagery of a daughter who you haven't met yet looking up at you, and she's got the same eyes as your wife, you know, that kind of thing, like that kind of imagery. Maybe it's just because I'm a sensitive soul.
no, you lived that. You literally lived that. You sang that song, right? Your wife was
Yeah.
pregnant. You had a little girl. Like, you
Yeah.
lived that. That means something to you. I totally get that.
But
Totally
I
understand.
also like Hardy radio song.
Okay,
Have you listened to this song?
brother.
It is a song that makes fun of radio. It's fantastic. It's like, gotta write them a little hook so they'll play it over and over again.
Oh, he's
And then-
parodying. He's mimicking his real life.
Yeah, so he does that, and then it goes back and forth between two different sounds, and the other sound is like this heavy metal, but this ain't no radio song, and he just drops a massive F-bomb like 3 or 4 times during the song. It's so great. I
like
laughed
that.
so hard the first time I heard it.
I like that. Do you remember what was the song that was on TikTok? Dick Down in Dallas?
Yes.
Remember when Dick Down in Dallas started going around?
Yep.
We wanted to play that song on the air.
Yep.
That is what an actual interested, engaged show that is connected with its like music, that is what a show would do. You know what we did instead? Probably aired some bullshit premiere every hour of some song that they paid to get on the air.
Yeah.
Oh man, that sorry, you just reminded me of that. I like Hardy. I always liked Hardy just because he seems like he has the guts. You got to have the guts to risk it for the biscuit if you want to do anything anymore. And I feel like I feel like I risked a lot, and I'm paying for it here and not working in that industry anymore, land. But I do feel like that's important. I want to listen to this radio song, not now, but I'll listen to it afterwards. But yeah, I can't say as far as like with country music growing on me, it has. I can't say like growing up, listening to Willie Nelson and Dad's El Camino. You know, that's like that is right. That seems like it would work. Like I should like country. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Made my dad very proud when I got a job in country music, but it was about everything except the music for me when I went there. specifically because there was nobody in this genre doing what we knew what we were going to do. And now this is everything, right? This is what everybody does.
I always used to say I like everything but country when I was growing up. And I can't say that anymore because there's a lot of songs and there's a lot of artists within the country music format that I do like and that I do seek out. But am I going to listen to a blanket country music station just to see what's coming on because I like it that much? No, it's not going to happen. I'm going to go to Chris Stapleton and listen to Parachute, or I'm going to go to Dierks Bentley. These are the artists that I appreciate, that I like, that I think are musicians, and that's just how that's going to be. But we get so hung up on labels as humans.
Yeah.
So hung up on labels as humans. Like, we have to classify everything. We have to put it in a bucket. If it doesn't fit in the bucket, it doesn't work. Like, it has to fit in a bucket.
It's interesting because the bucket of what is country radio, the bucket is a 25 to 54-year-old female, right? That's where they want you to live. That's your demographic. That's who you're supposed to be talking to. I always had this idea of a radio station for a guy that didn't have a format. Listen, I like Jay-Z. I like Dierks Bentley. I like Donald Glover. Trying to think of a song that's in my playlist. I like Toto, Africa.
Yeah, hell yes.
Why can't these songs all live in one place? And in between it, talk about guy things. You could have a guy station that was just like all kinds of things, but instead we segregate humans. Do you like black music? This is the station for you. Do you like rap? Do you like rock music? This is the station for you. When by the way, I am mocking when I say, do you like black music? I don't want anybody to think that that's like me saying that, but there are stations who consider themselves urban or hip hop, or they only play that kind of music. And I get it. They're appealing to people who like that music, but I know people who like that music and other music. Why we're literally intentionally, almost racially segregating ourselves when it comes to entertainment. I think that's going to take some time for the world to intermingle. Maybe in a couple thousand years, races won't be a thing. I don't know. And we'll all just be listening to beep, bop, boop, boop, beep, boop, beep, beep, whatever it is.
This data sounds awesome.
This data is crisp, bro. No
My
lost
favorite
format.
Binary artist is
1011011. No, I loved featuring 110110.
Yeah,
brother. Ooh, that stuff was so binary. But what do we know? We're just a couple of guys who talked on the radio for a while and are now sharing our thoughts. And that basically is the end of what we have. Those are the questions that we had lined up. I know 2 hours is a lot. We're a little shorter on this one, but I do want to reiterate again that we look for your input. If we can comb through the comments to do more question and answers like this, or if there is something else that we could or should do now that we're looking at where to go now that the Eras Tour is over. We're just kind of chatting about a few things before this show and in between in text messages where, what do we want to do now? Now, that goal that we had back in 2010 when we first started of getting content onto YouTube and maybe it actually turning into a way for us to, work together and live could be a thing. What does that look like? We're here, I think right now, if we're building a house, we just dug the hole.
Yep.
I know the actual answer is concrete, but what goes in the hole? You know what I mean? We want to put a good foundation down here. I kind of liked how you said the little, not vibe check or what did you, vent sesh in the beginning? You got a little vent sesh. Do you need a vent sesh? Maybe we'll have a vent sesh in the next episode. Maybe you need a vent sesh. In the comments down below, feel free to take part in our first ever community vent session. Brother, I'm making it up as I go, so I hope it sounds good. I don't know.
Maybe we just need to get the Hawk Tua girl on like everybody else.
Bro, we don't have budget. She ain't coming on this for you. Nobody gets the Hawk Tua for free.
Maybe we're industry plants right now, and the Hawk Tua girl is going to come on the show just to help us, get to the next level.
if that's the case, you're the industry plant, because I got no clue what you're talking about right now. And
Wouldn't
I'm
that be amazing if after 14 years, 15 years, 20 plus years in radio and trying to break through, the Hawk Tuah girl is what did it for us?
Man, I don't know. I've already seen way too much for a stupid tattoo that I got. Nothing is impossible at this point.
True.
You know, lean into it. When you see stars doing dumb stuff, like when you know, I remember them trying to cancel Morgan Wallen for things he was saying. He was just like, "Nah, I'm still gonna go on tour." And we were like, "Really? Okay." Keep pressing. It seems to have worked out. But keep pressing, I guess, right? Hawk Tuah or not. That's a life lesson. Little did you know.
Do you know her podcast is called Talk Tuah?
Oh, it's already too much attention to Haley Welch. Why do I know her name?
Welcome to Talk Tuah.
I'm Hawk Tuah.
Hawk Tuah girl on her gravestone. Hawk Tuah girl.
Oh no, that's good. We are first so late on this trend to even be talking about it. Second, to say her name so many times feels like we should be getting some sort of an advertising partnership check. That we know so much about her, and that people probably also know so much about her from just a simple on the street interview, and how that stuff can really change a person's life to, even in death, it might say Hawk Tuah girl on that. I doubt they'll put that on the gravestone, but you know what? Crazier things have happened. I'd give her credit if she put the Hawk Tuah girl on her gravestone. We should start leaning into those things. You know what I mean? Like little girl who's in that picture with the house burning in the background that looks diabolical. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Imprint that picture on her gravestone so we know that that's where she is.
Oh.
This got dark. I'm sorry. If there's any other questions you had, please feel free to leave them in the comments or find our socials from links down below in the description of this video. Really appreciate you checking it out. You know where to find us. I hope that we can chat again soon. Is this a fine place to end?
This is a fine place to end.
It's good to talk to you, my friend. We'll do it again soon.
Likewise. See ya.